So UFC Apex number whatever happened last night, and to tell you everything you need to know about this card, MMA Guru missed preview and reaction again. Bedtime MMA didn't even do a reaction. That tells you everything you need to know. But we are here to discuss Manel capping the gooch. We are here to discuss Herb Dean making another blunder, capping what has been just a tremendous week of officiating, and also a big fight is announced, not for a pay-per-view, but for the main event of a fight night in Oklahoma. So let's start off with the main event, which is of course Herb Dean's performance. I swear to God, I have been trying now for weeks to get a retro review done for Pride and UFC, recorded and uploaded in the same week, and I can't because I need to keep talking about bullshit. This is 2 weeks in a row now where we're not actually talking about the fights, but about the referee's performance. And Mark Goddard should be counting his lucky stars right now that he does not have to answer any questions as to why he let Ilia Topuria go out for the 4th round blind against doctor's orders or advice that you asked for. You decided to go against that and let him go out blind to the 4th round anyway. He hasn't been asked any questions about that. Not that anybody cares, because everybody is focused on Herb Dean. You can't take your eyes off him anymore when he's in there. And here we are, another week. Another piss poor performance from Herb Dean that we now need to discuss. We need to discuss it. And it's the first thing on the docket here. Another Herb Dean blunder. More back of the head shots, completely unanswered as he stands. I'm not joking. It's the apex. It's the baby cage. He's 2 steps away from it, looking directly at it, and all of a sudden he's blind and can't see. And I'm all for, calling for accountability for these referees. I don't want to come on here and ever say anybody should lose their job over a mistake. But Herb Dean, buddy, you are on thin ice. You are on thin ice. I don't think I've ever seen a referee more scrutinised in the last week than I have seen for Herb Dean right now. More scrutinised than Dan Mergliata was when he called that fight the end of the round with like 4 seconds left on the clock. When the fight was finished, he just stepped in, stopped the fight, and then sent them both back to the corners, and the clock was still running, time expired, and then he brought them back out for this next round. People didn't raise as many eyebrows at that than they are at Herb Dean right now. They are looking at Herb Dean so closely that they're ignoring Goddard after the Ilia Gaethje mess. And after Herb Dean had to answer the critics and then make a video about how he referees back of the head shots, what have you, you would actually think, you know what, I'm going to be more strict. Not only was he not more strict, not only was he not more diligent, not only was he not more sentient, he went the opposite direction and just let blatant back of the head shot elbows go again. And as soon as it happened, Alex Pereira's posting photos of it on his story. Just another own goal from Herb Dean. You were literally handed the opportunity to rectify your past mistakes. It's an open goal, and instead you turn round and just fucking volleyed the ball into your own net like a fucking idiot and just let it go. And it was the finish to the fight. The fighter could not recover. And now he has a loss on his record for illegal strikes. What happens now? Who knows? And I'm actually going to read you what UFC wrote on their website. So this happened with Vinicius Oliveira illegally striking Andre Fili. So I'm going to read this verbatim, word for word. Don't laugh at my reading skills. So Vinicius Oliveira turned in an impressive showing in his first featherweight appearance in the UFC, stopping Andre Fili in the dying seconds of the second round. The divisional mainstay had a great deal of success in the first round, hurting Oliveira to the body and damaging his foot by checking kicks, but Oliveira persevered and started piling up the punishment as the second round progressed before stinging Fili along the fence in the final minute. As the onslaught continued, a couple of elbows appeared to land to the back of the head, bringing about the finish. Regardless of the questionable blows, there is no denying Oliveira looked much better as the fight progressed here than he did during his bantamweight days. Not that featherweight needs another threat, but it just may have gotten one, with Lockdog arriving this weekend. UFC's even saying that they were illegal strikes. Nothing's going to get done about it. They literally just said here, okay, a couple of elbows appeared to land to the back of the head, bringing about the finish. Bringing about the finish that would not have happened otherwise, but because of the illegal strikes. Herb Dean is standing right there. Stop the fight. Now that was just the first hammer fist that I showed you there. Here comes the follow-up elbows. Bang, there's one. And here is briefly following the second one. Here he goes, bang, there's another one, you can tell. And here he switches the angle of the arm. There you go. Almost at a 12-6 angle to the back of the head. Nearly, not quite. But then here's the real magnum opus. Look at his head. And now look at it. Boom. Back of the head strikes. Again, Herb Dean is standing right there. He draws back. He hits him again. Then goes to pull back with a right to hit him in the face. And finally, mercifully, Herb Dean does his job. Not too well, though, because the fight should have been stopped after the first one. Now, I'm hoping that there's long enough pauses in there and the changing of the filters will prevent there being any issues. But then again, I'm commentating over the top of it. So it's kind of fair game, you know what I mean? Fili here, of course, protested after the fact. Nothing done, and nothing will be done, because you just heard me read it there off UFC's official website. Even although some of the strikes were questionable back of the head blows leading to the finish, nothing will get done about it. And Herb Dean will get to live out his dream one more time of hopefully seeing somebody perish in front of him in the cage. Or not, of course. This video is a complete joke and I'm playing a character. Just so everything is on the old up and up. But look, let's get into the middle of this. I don't even know what's in this sandwich, but we're in the middle of it, and it's not good. Horiguchi versus Manel Kape. Oh my god, just more depressing news. They have absolutely torched UFC Japan, haven't they? Between Tatsuro Taira, Horiguchi, at least Kai Asakura won. But I don't think we can build a whole card around just him. We really needed some of these flyweights to really pull it out the bag, particularly the Japanese ones, Tatsuro Taira and Horiguchi. We got neither of it, sadly. But man, Horiguchi performed well up until he was slept. But let's get into this. So these two had actually fought before at the Rizin World Grand Prix in 2017. That happened at the Saitama Super Arena in front of over 18,000 people. And so the promotional juggernaut of the UFC had the rematch take place at the Apex. Right, okay. Remember when Pantoja got injured and Van won the belt, and Dana White was like, we're actively looking for spots in Japan to run that show. And, you could have had this on it, and you could have had Taira versus Van, and you could have had Asakura at bantamweight on there, and now we're back at the apex for Kape versus the Gooch. Okay, let's do it. Round 1 was a very boring affair. I think Horiguchi took it. He landed the better stuff. He landed the body kicks, but Kape kind of kept catching them after they'd already connected. But the corner, immediately after the rounds stopped and we went to the corners, Gooch's corner, it straight up said, stop with the body kicks. Too risky. Just keep it on the feet. Feint the double leg. Come up with the hands. That was the advice going into the second. Oh, and by the way, 10-9 Horiguchi after the first. Again, super boring round, but he gets the takedown at the end. He landed more damage. And he's up 1-0 going into the second. The corner tell Horiguchi to feint the double leg, come up with the hands. They also then just tell him at the very end, or, just double leg him if you want to. He kind of takes both pieces of advice, but also completely ignores the part where they said, here, no more kicks to the body, because he just continues to throw them. So he comes out for the second, and he's feinting, he's doing his thing. He throws a kick to the body straight away after being told not to. Great stuff, just, I don't know how good Horiguchi's English is or isn't. It says that he's fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida, so he's training here at least. Or I say here. He's training here. He's training there. So I would assume that he understands his cornerman speaking English to him. There's some sort of translator and sitting there next to him. But he came out, immediately threw kicks to the body. He's still feinting. He's still doing his thing. He comes round, lands a stiff left hook. It looked probably worse than it was because Manel Kape is slipping all over the mat. Just all over the place. He gets stung with that left hook. He starts slipping all over the place. He looks like he's off balance. He's not actually wobbled. Wobbled. But he's definitely stunned and has lost his footing. And then he tries to, throw in response. He tries to throw strikes without setting anything up. Just classic maneuver. And he then gets taken down. And the Gooch is on top in half guard and full guard for the rest of the round. So he's up 2-0. He's clearly winning. It's been a fine performance in terms of what's effective and a fine performance in terms of, okay, I'm going to drag this out over 5 rounds and beat you. He's winning rounds, basically, is what I can say. In that aspect, the performance is good. It's just not very entertaining, which, I thought this fight would be, I don't know, a barn burner, really. I don't think it was going to be as good as Taira versus Van, but I still thought that it was going to be better than that in the first 2 rounds, and then, of course, in round 3, what happens. The round actually starts off entertaining. See, the round 3, that's what I thought we were going to get for the majority of the fight. Sadly, that didn't happen. We only got it for the last couple of minutes. But Manel Kape realises, here, I could be down 2, so I actually need to start, putting some shit together and walk forward and actually, land. So they both kind of sting each other with some hard shots. Horiguchi's now throwing high kicks. He's traded the body kick for the high kick. He's been told to stop. Right, he had to get told again in the second round, stop with the body kicks, and he said, okay, sure, and started throwing high ones. It is what it is. Manel Kape then starts throwing low kicks, which Horiguchi checks. I think he checked 2 or 3 in a row, and you could definitely tell that they hurt Manel Kape. He's then started slipping again all over the place, but you could see he started moving a little bit more tentatively on the left foot. And then out of nowhere, he just lands on Horiguchi, who tried to throw a jab and then a right hook, and then, whoop, Manel Kape, whoop, counter, bang, down. I say down. He sort of wobbled Horiguchi, who was on the feet, and then it just took another shot. He goes down, face planted, and then by the way, Manel Kape does the absolute unthinkable and finishes him off with completely legal strikes that, by the way, looked unbelievably awkward to be able to hit Horiguchi with. He should have just taken backside and started hammer fisting his medulla. That's what he should have done. But instead, no, Manel Kape actually played fair and knows the rules and abides by the rules and finished Horiguchi off with very legal ground and pound. Herb Dean jumps in because, he's not used to seeing legal ground and pound. If it was illegal, he would have just stood back and just let whatever was going to happen. But he's seen that it was legal strikes and thought, oh no, I need to put an end to this. And then Manel Kape wins. So I actually wanted to talk about this fight. I'm not going over the whole fight night, right? I'm talking about the main event. I'm talking about Herb Dean, and I'm talking about the matchup that's on the screen just now. But this matchup was of interest to me because of the flyweight situation, and we have quite a nice top mix between, Van the champion, Pantoja. We're waiting to see when he's coming back. Van just beat Tatsuro Taira. But we have Horiguchi, we have Kape, Brandon Royval and Lorna Kavanagh's coming up. That's going to be an interesting fight. But I just wanted to ask the question and comment below, is Pantoja getting the next title fight? Or is Manel Kape going to jump him, and not jump him literally, but jump him in line and get Joshua Van next? Because that was actually the fight that Joshua Van asked for. Instead of Tatsuro Taira, that was the fight that he wanted. He wanted to face Manel Kape. And I kind of want to see it. But I think if Pantoja is fit and ready to go, I think he kind of has to get the rematch because of how dominant a champion he was, because of how the first fight ended. It wasn't even really a fight. It was 30 seconds. He fell over and just snapped his arm in half. Grisly injury. But I think Manel Kape, I could see him just sitting out. And if he doesn't get the next title fight, I could see him just sitting out and waiting for Pantoja and Van to run its course. And depending on how far away that fight is, they might have the flyweight title defended again before the end of the year. So I think Joshua Van said he would fight as often as he could. So this is literally just down to UFC, the kind of turnaround Manel Kape is willing to do, and how far away Pantoja is from his return. I haven't actually heard anything, but then again, I haven't looked into it. So who knows when he'll be back. As for Horiguchi, I mean, it's easy to just say, look, he lost to Tatsuro Taira just lost, Horiguchi just lost, we could throw them together, but I'm looking at Lorna Kavanagh and Brandon Royval. I think there's still other matchups in the top mix that we need to wait and see what those results look like before we then start to find out what matchups look possible next. But it is quite interesting at the top of flyweight. It's honestly one of the more exciting divisions because a lot of the other divisions have a top mix of 3-4 people that you are interested in. Flyweight has like 6 or 7. And it's times like this where I think, see if they just rehired Muhammad Makayev, we could have a fucking stacked top 8 at flyweight, and we just choose not to. God knows what he done. He must have pissed a lot of people off. But that's that. Let's talk about DDP versus Kamaru Usman. That fight was confirmed, and thank God that we spoke about Islam and Ian Gary when we did, because we sort of speculated on what was happening with this fight. I didn't know if it was going to happen. I didn't really think that it made a whole lot of sense unless Kamaru Usman is moving up to 185 permanently. I was thinking maybe Kyle Baralho and DDP, or Pfeiffer and Baralho. There's a lot of competition for Baralho, basically, but Kamaru Usman moving up, and I don't know what he's thinking. If he's... Strickland's going to face Imavov. Kamaru Usman's desperate for a title fight. He was asking to fight Islam Makhachev. So now he's fighting DDP up a weight class because that's probably the highest ranked fight that he can get in either weight division right now. Like, he's not facing Carlos Prates, he's not facing Morales. Ian Gary's now fighting Islam Makhachev. Maybe he could have got JDM, but JDM just got beat by Prates. He needs a lot of time off. So, that's the top 4 just locked out. So DDP is the highest ranked opposition he could face, but is he facing DDP to then look to face the winner of Strickland versus Imavov? Or is he just looking for a win over a high-ranked opponent to then be able to say, well, look, I beat the number 2 welterweight. I want that fight with Islam Makhachev. I want the 170-pound belt back. We just don't know yet. And look, we've seen, and anybody out there wondering, why would beating the number 2 middleweight give you the title shot at welterweight? We have people saying that Conor McGregor beating Max Holloway is going to get him a fight with Justin Gaethje. So this is, if that's possible, this is possible. So, and look, we've seen, I think I used examples of MVP and Kevin Holland where they'll fight between divisions and their wins and losses then translate to their opponent in the opposite division, not just their results in that division itself. Good grief, what a mess. But in terms of this fight, who's going to win? It's a 5-rounder. It is a main event at Oklahoma. I think it's actually the week. Is it the week after McGregor's card, or is it the week after Islam's card? They literally just had it on the screen. I literally just watched the fight night. Let me look this up really quick while I still have you. Let's find out. July 18th. So that's going to be the week after McGregor versus Holloway. That's a pretty big fight night. Let's see what else they can put on that card. But look, this is here. It's saying from the AI overview, this middleweight clash marks Kamaru Usman's official move up from the welterweight division. So he's now fighting at 185. And that is confirmed via AI. Let me have a quick look at the rankings and see who is in and around the top of middleweight, because I don't anticipate a Kamaru Usman win here. I don't think he's going to try and Hamza DDP, but Kamaru Usman at this stage in the game isn't really... I say this stage in the game, he had a close fight with Hamza, but I don't think Usman will be able to hold down DDP the way that Hamza held down DDP. He's gonna try for it, you know what I mean? Hamza Chimaev sort of set out a blueprint, the same way that Usman set out the blueprint to beat Buckley, and then Brady just copied that. I think Usman is definitely gonna, reinforce grappling, and he's gonna try and hold down DDP that way. But let me look and see if he was to win. Yeah, look, the top of middleweight is Strickland the champion, Hamza at number 1, DDP number 2, Nasruddin Imavov number 3. Imavov's going to get the next title fight. So say he wins, Imavov's now the champion, Strickland's then down to 1, Hamza at 2, DDP 3. If he beats DDP, he's probably looking at the number 2 spot, but he's still not getting the title fight. And he lost to Hamza Chimaev. So I don't know what the goal is here if you're wanting a title fight so badly, because in that fight with Hamza was at 185, because I think Usman went up. Was he not a late replacement? One of just the many late switches for a Hamza Chimaev fight. Like a win over DDP would be huge for him. He might actually be able to get a title fight based on one win, and it's clearly what he wants. I think he just wants the title fight to then be able to retire on it and say he went out at like the top of the sport, as opposed to, I beat Joaquin Buckley and then just kind of aged out. It sounds a lot better to say I beat DDP and then fought the champion. So, look, good for Usman. He's managed to bargain himself a deal here. But yeah, I suppose that adds him to the list of big winners this week, along with Ciryl Gane, Justin Gaethje, Mark Goddard, and now Kamaru Usman. And I suppose Manel Kape too. Big win over Horiguchi. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for subscribing to that Alex Pereira Justified Meltdown video. Is still running up numbers here for this channel, most viewed video now, so thank you for that, much appreciated. And yeah, keep smashing it. Bye bye.